14th, 2024, Season 1, Episode 36. I am Mayor Watt, and the voice you're about to hear is that of the Sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for the Continuity Report.
And I did it again. I didn't put the articles in ohmTown, but we're going to talk about B Squared opening weekend. Jurassic World reboot, Dune Cubed, to be the last by Denis Villeneuve. The Denzel ecosystem, Lo-Fi Jason Bourne, a one-day adorable anime, inside a video game, remaking a heist movie, Munsters Revival, and the newest Starfleet TV show. All of this powered by ohmTown.com. Go over there and become a citizen. You can also download the podcast version of the show and follow us over on YouTube and here on Twitch. But YouTube is where you can like and subscribe and make a comment. That helps out immensely on the algorithm. Ringing the bell, that kind of a thing. Hope this show rings your bell. Wait a minute. All right, so I'm trying to copy things into the bot, so I'm really sorry, folks. Let's see if I can do this real quick without ruining our production value too much. If you want to, you can go over to ohmTown.com and then go into the Continuity Report channel. And that's where we aggregate a lot of the news that we cover here in the show. That said, you don't have to, because you can go over to YouTube, and that's where we also put all of today's show notes. And I'm almost done here. I want to be able to put this into the ohmTown so that everybody can just download these via or at least get access to them via the show notes in the discussion boards and in the chat and everywhere. All right, folks. So if you're in the chat, you can actually hit exclamation point and then TSR, the continuity report, and that will pull all of the links out of ohmTown and into, and they're not in the proper order because I messed up the formatting, but anyway, all the links are there and they're pretty obvious. Anyway, the very first article is about Beetlejuice. Can't say it twice. You have to say Beetlejuice Squared. Scares up a strong opening weekend. The long-awaited sequel starting strong and even managed to become one of the biggest ever theatrical debuts in September. What do you think of that?
I think that's pretty incredible for a sequel that many people may not have been around for the first one.
20 years in the making or something like that. How long ago?
I remember when it came out. I think it came out in the 80s.
One job. So the long-awaited sequel started strong and even managed to become one of the biggest ever theatrical debuts in September. Justin Carter over at Gizmodo.com put the article together. And how long?
Oh, well, 1988. So almost
40 years.
40 years.
Yeah. I mean, 36 or something like that. That's brutal. So Warner Brothers Tim Burton's horror comedy sequel opened to $145.4 million, according to Variety. The bulk of that came domestically here in the States, I suppose, where it began its theatrical run with $110 million. It's the second biggest September debut of all time, behind the $123 million debut of 2017's It Chapter 1, and directly ahead of It Chapter 2, $91 million. Yeah, that's a pretty big gap, too. I mean, wow.
Yeah, it is.
Wait. Oh, 100. Okay, so yeah. So there's been a big marketing push behind Beetlejuice Squared. Because if you say it twice, you're going to end up in trouble. Everything okay over there?
Well, I thought if you said it 3 times, yes, that's where the problem occurs.
Oh, I thought it's... now I'm really confused. I thought it's 3 times to send him back, twice to bring him back. Right, Beetlejuice? I don't know anymore. I think it's Yeah, maybe it is 3 times. Dude, I guess I'm going to have to watch it again. Anyway, big marketing push. It has been everywhere. Everybody's been talking about it all over the place. Along with getting people to rewatch the first film to see if it still holds up, and maybe just Burton's entire filmography overall. It definitely helps that the 90s animated series recently hit Tubi ahead of the sequel's release. Its stars also can be credited. People love them some Winona Ryder, Michael Keaton, and Jenna Ortega, particularly the latter thanks to Wednesday and Scream sequels. Add to the strong word of mouth from its premiere at the Venice Film Festival, and it's no surprise that people have drank the juice, as it were.
I'm surprised it was at the Venice Film Festival because I think of that as being more... I thought it was more artsy films, but maybe not.
Yeah. To me too, I thought so. So what else to look forward to this month? Well, they have other things in mind, but we're going to move on. This is what we came to talk about, Beetlejuice. I really liked the first show, right? Just Beetlejuice, and now Beetlejuice. I'm not sure,
I don't feel like it's going to live up to the original.
Yeah, I don't know where they're going to take it.
Know.
I know that he tries to marry Jenna Ortega, I think, in this one, but I haven't really been paying any attention. I'm waiting for it to drop so that I can watch it in the home theater instead of in a theater, mainly because, well, COVID is still a thing. Anyway, let's keep moving. I look forward to this being released at home, and then we'll end up talking about it here in the mayoral mansion. All right, the next article is over in the Continuity Report. Scarlett Johansson's Jurassic World reboot has already changed the franchise in one big way, and I did not know about this at all. Scarlett Johansson's
that's surprising to me.
Huh?
That's surprising to me just because she's such a name brand. I didn't either till I saw this headline.
So ahead of Jurassic World Rebirth, releasing in 2025, the movie has already had the impact on a wider franchise before even dropping the trailer. In 1993, Steven Spielberg set imaginations everywhere alight as he brought dinosaurs to life in Jurassic Park. The film was based on a novel by Michael Crichton, the same man who's responsible for the creation of Westworld, Twister, ER. Okay, wait. Westworld is not... All right. Is Westworld a book by Michael Crichton? Did I really miss that? Hold on a second.
I think we've seen that previously mentioned, but maybe he just worked on the screenplay or something.
No, it's a book. 1974. Maybe that's why I missed it. It's a screenplay, not a book. Odd reading experience because it's a screenplay, not a book. Westworld was never a novel. It was originally envisioned by Crichton as a movie. The screenplay was written in 1972, and the movie came out in 1973. Okay, so maybe that's why. I didn't think it was a book, but anyway. But Westworld and the early 70s movie is a far cry from the modern version of Westworld, at least after the first season. I mean, it went bananas towards the end. I actually stopped liking that show. Anyway, the film was based on a screenplay by Michael Crichton, the same man who's responsible for Westworld. Oh, sorry. Let me fix this before my brain explodes. Jurassic Park was a book. Westworld was not. And dozens of other spectacular stories. So let me just move past this. However, at the time, Michael Crichton and Spielberg likely didn't predict the success of the movie. So now it's back. Ben Gibbons over at ScreenRant.com put the article together, and it's Jurassic World Rebirth. I did not even know. I did not see Scarlett Johansson.
I thought the franchise was over, and I didn't know Scarlett Johansson was joining it, but I suspect that this will be a big draw for them. Maybe this will reinvigorate it.
Yeah, so since 1993, the movie grew to become a huge franchise, including an original trilogy, a sequel trilogy, video games, animated TV show, and more. The Jurassic World trilogy was responsible for giving the franchise a surge of new life when it came out in 2015, and now the films are set to enter another era, third era, with yet another new trilogy. However, the Jurassic World Rebirth has already confirmed one big change for the franchise. It's keeping the world name in its title. No more Jurassic Park for the franchise. It's Jurassic World. So no more Jurassic Park.
Well, I guess then they can move the movie out of the original
park
set or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Unless they're going to make another park or something, since that went so well the first time.
Zora Bennett is Scarlett Johansson, or I should say Scarlett Johansson is Zora Bennett. The titular character in Jurassic World Rebirth. Let's see exactly how it's connected. This means that Jurassic World Rebirth will be to the previous films is unclear, but it is interesting that the change is apparently now permanent. So I don't know how that really makes much difference, other than it pulls it out of the park, like the AI said. So I think this is going to be interesting. I haven't really gotten into the Jurassic World, world ecosystem, pantheon of dinosaurs. I don't know. Rather than terrifying monsters, they became wild and glorious creatures that deserve respect. So I guess Earth is going to be the playground for dinosaurs again.
Right, and the hilarity ensues.
Jurassic World looks set to be the new official title. Does Rebirth's title mean Jurassic World is the franchise's new official title? So yeah, I mean that's what it's going to be. For many expansive franchises, the word universe. God bless America. What is going on? I cannot say anything today without fumbling all over my words. For many expansive franchises, the word universe is incorporated to suggest the scale and size of the stories that are contained within it. Jurassic Park came out long before most movie universes were established, and it's certainly no illusions of grandeur for a franchise that would span decades. But it's already broken out. The moment that it started using Jurassic World Dominion, for instance, that the world Dominion is now that of the dinosaurs. They can go anywhere they want.
Right.
I don't see how, but okay. And there must be some canon way that they got out of the park, like fully, right?
Well, right. I think they got out of the park, or at least they went rampant in the park, at least on the first one.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like the island itself that they were on. Like,
right.
How did they get to other islands? Come on. Anyway, maybe people smuggled eggs.
Oh, right. Yeah, that could have been it.
Flushed them down the toilet when they got too big, like dinosaurs, and they end up, or like alligators, and they end up in Florida and
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, thank you for the recall there. Let's keep moving. This is going to be interesting to watch. Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, most of the Jurassic franchise is just a fun watch. I mean, you have to suspend disbelief. It's entertaining.
Yeah. To me, it got kind of old, though. Let's keep moving. When they talked about a dinosaur named Blue, I'm like, oh, God. My boy Blue. From Back to School. Not Back to School. What was the one? Where he goes back to school and starts a fraternity. Oh, goodness. I can't remember it. Anyway, next article's over in the Continuity Report. Denis Villeneuve says that Dune 3 is not like a trilogy and will be his last Dune movie. Other directors could take over, so I'm not closing the door on the franchise. Denis Villeneuve appeared on Vanity Fair's Little Gold Men podcast and stressed that an upcoming third Dune movie based on Frank Herbert's Dune Messiah is not being developed as the completion of a trilogy in his eyes. Legendary confirmed in April that development in Dune 3 was underway following the blockbuster success of Dune 1 and 2. Zach Sharf over at Variety.com put the article together. So Dune Part 2 grossed $711 million earlier this year.
Is that all? I mean, it didn't hit the 1 billion mark like Inside Out, I think.
Oh, yeah. Dune Inside Out, starring Zendaya. No. Or Inside Out Dune.
Might be a good crossover.
Yeah. So it's set 12 years after the events of the first Dune novel, Dune Messiah. It's set 12 years after the Dune novel. So a film adaptation would likely have to age up Villeneuve's young cast that includes Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Florence Pugh, is it Poe?
Pew, I think.
Pugh? Is it Pugh? And more. I never been able to pronounce her name properly. I think I may have heard it, but it doesn't stick in my head. I'll have to hear it again. Anyway, the director said, "I know how to do that," when asked how he plans to age up the cast, but did not share details of his plan. What is it? 12 years? It's not going to make that much of a difference to people that are, it's staccato. You're not going to recognize them as being 12 years older.
Right. I don't think most people will care as long as it's not a larger age difference. Like, it's not like a Benjamin Button situation or something.
Yeah. It's not like they're aging so dramatically in 12 years that they're adults. It's not like they're 12-year-olds.
Right. That would be a big difference. Yeah.
They're in their 20s. The difference between 20 and 30 is not that much of a difference. Maybe on Dune. No, it extends aging. The spice extends aging.
Right. So it should be less of a concern.
Yeah. It's just like yesterday. Give me a break. Anyway, Villeneuve has long expressed interest in making a third Dune movie and has often said that he would mark his final outing in the franchise, or its literary series continued for more novels. And Villeneuve said he's comfortable with other directors taking over the franchise. As long as they're grandiose, that's fine with me. Stick to the material. You'll have plenty of material. The world building is just massive. It gets a little bananas, but it's a lot of fun. So that's all there really is to this. That Villeneuve's going to move on
like
after
this,
the third one.
Right? Like, he doesn't eliminate it from. It's like the antithesis of the Stop Killing Games.
Yeah, really. Well, he can't stop the franchise from moving forward. No, I'm going to take my Dune and go home. Let's move on. The next article is over in the Continuity Report. 12 biggest roles Denzel Washington turned down or lost. Denzel Washington has had many prolific roles in his long and illustrious film career. Please use titular, please. Still, the actor has
we have
also...
to have it in at least once a show.
Yeah. Had many parts that he either missed out on or of his own volition turned down, or because the casting producers turned him down. So you mean life? Okay. Of course, that has not slowed him down at all, as seen in the expansive filmography and numerous award wins. So over at Screen Rant, Sarah Little and Greg MacArthur put an article together going over the ones that he lost. So he was supposed to be in Furious 7. Had the opportunity to appear in Furious 7, the most profitable installment of the massive Fast and Furious franchise. He turned down the role of playing Mr. Nobody, which went to another legendary actor, Kurt Russell. Mr. Nobody went on to appear in The Fate of the Furious and F9, making him a recurring part of the monolithic action franchise. And
so if he'd gotten F7, then he would have had, I guess, 2 more. Yeah. Or at least the 9th one.
But I don't know. He seems like a commanding stage presence. They may kill him off just so that others can still shine.
Right, exactly. Because that threw me off when it said Furious 7. Because I was thinking, well, he's clearly like a leading role, but he can't be if he's coming in at number 7.
Yep. So Leave the World Behind in 2023. He was initially slated to portray G.H. Scott in Netflix's apocalyptic thriller Leave the World Behind, directed by Mr. Robot creator Sam Esmail. The role eventually went on to Oscar winner Mahershala Ali after Washington stepped away from the project. It would have marked a 30-year on-screen reunion with Julia Roberts. Interesting.
Oh, from the Pelican Brief, which is a really good movie.
It is. So, A Perfect World in 1993 starred Kevin Costner as Robert Butch Haynes, a convict who escaped from prison and took a young boy hostage while he was on the run from law enforcement. The movie, which was directed by Clint Eastwood, did not garner a lot of success. Costner was not Eastwood's first pick to play Butch. Initially, the director wanted Denzel Washington to play the role, but the actor turned the part down. For good measure, apparently. Michael Clayton, 2007. Washington later admitted that he made a mistake in passing on Michael Clayton because of how successful it was. George Clooney played as I got to say it, titular character in Michael Clayton, which told the story of Michael Clayton, a lawyer and a known fixer who uncovers corruption related to one of the clients in his firm in New York City. Let's keep going. Amistad in 1997. His performance thrust him into the spotlight in Hollywood. However, the role almost went to Denzel Washington, who turned it down because he didn't want to play a slave. Yeah, makes sense.
Fair point.
Hotel Rwanda in 2004. Is this another? Hold on a second.
This one is about genocide.
Oh, Cheadle would go on to get an Oscar nomination for his work in Hotel Rwanda. 48 Hours in 1982. Dreamgirls in 2006. I, Robot in 2004.
Okay, that's interesting.
Will Smith played the lead. It was supposed to. The producers first turned to Denzel Washington to see if he'd be interested. The actor turned it down. Wow. Oh my God, Blade? Wesley Snipes completely embodied the role of Eric Brooks / Blade in the 1998 superhero movie Blade. Before principal photography took place, the head of the studio producing the film suggested Denzel Washington. Snipes, though, and he got his way at the end of the day, so director said, go with Snipes. Yeah, I can't imagine Blade being
No,
Denzel
I can't either.
Washington.
I, Robot, I'm like, yeah, I could probably see that.
Maybe?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know.
Because
it seems like it's a more serious role or whatever, which Denzel Washington seems to do well with. But
Terminator 2 Judgment Day? What?
instead of Arnold Schwarzenegger? No, this is a side character.
Played Joe Morton. However, the producers first offered the role to Dr. Miles Bennett Dyson, played by Joe Morton. However, the producers first offered the role to Denzel Washington, who turned it down because it wasn't the part he was looking for. Wow.
That's because he wasn't going to be the titular character. That was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
True. Yeah, 7. Denzel Washington almost took the role that would ultimately go to Brad Pitt in 7. 7 is arguably one of Pitt's best movies, but it would have looked a lot different had Washington never turned down the role of David Mills because the film was too dark. Wow.
I don't really get that.
7?
Oh, I misunderstood what they stated at the end. I got it now.
Gotcha. So yeah, because it's about a serial killer, so modeling his murders after the 7 deadly sins. So that is pretty dark, but Denzel Washington has taken on other roles where people have been murdered, but not perhaps this. I mean, it's kind of
right. Maybe not like playing a serial killer or something, if that's what was going on.
Well, he would have been Brad Pitt, right? David Mills.
Yes.
Yeah. Yikes. All right. Let's keep going. Time waits for no person. So the next article is over in Reality Hacker. This 2024 movie is a lo-fi Jason Bourne paranoid thriller you need to watch if you can. The director of Hell or High Water returns to Toronto with a throwback paranoid thriller that loses its edge as it goes. A. Dowd over at Digital Trends puts this article together. And it says the deck statement says it's a reasonably smart thriller that dumbs itself down as it goes.
Well, a lot
Okay.
of action thrillers do that.
Yeah, they start out with the world building and then just kind of drop down into action. So it says Relay, which premiered this week at the Toronto International Film Festival, builds a whole suspense thriller around these unsung almost heroes, the would-be whistleblowers having second thoughts. The movie casts Sounds of Metal's Riz Ahmed as Tom, a middleman with a very specialized clientele. He helps regretful company defectors flirting with going to the press or authorities safely walk back their plans, facilitating the return of sensitive documents in exchange for an end to the intimidation tactics their powerful employers deploy. He also, of course, demands his own 8-digit fee from the company. Does such a service really exist? Probably not, but it's easy to imagine a job market for someone like Tom, a fixer hired to restore silence without violently silencing anyone.
Sounds kind of interesting.
It flips the script, you know? I mean, could be worse, I suppose. They could just land a Boeing plane on somebody. So, for a while, Relay works as a game of cat and mouse where the mouse is just trying to restore the status quo of insidious cover-up. The evil company has sent its own in-house fixers who seem ready to kill the scandal the literal old-fashioned way, which would have been cheaper anyway. So, I don't know. I'm already... I don't know. I'm already lost out on this. I'm going to end
I
up
have
watching
to say it sounds different than other things, which may be worth trying.
Yeah, definitely something worth looking at. So Relay is gripping so long as it's just observing Tom on the move. He's like Michael Clayton by way of Jason Bourne, using his chiefly analog systems, telephones, the mail, goofy disguises to flummox more technologically advanced adversaries and keep his client out of the crosshairs. Surprised they didn't throw in a little eraser or uneraser. Because in Eraser, the objective is to remove the person entirely while still getting the message out.
Interesting. Well, and also the Michael Clayton reference was
right.
interesting because we just had that in the other article without realizing that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, maybe we can watch this. It might be interesting as soon as it comes out. I don't know where it is. It just says that it recently played at the Toronto International Film Festival. It's awaiting US distribution, so we'll see if it actually ends up anywhere. Maybe straight to video, you know?
Right.
All right, let's keep going. Next article is over on the WarCrafters channel, which is one of our shows. It's just not going to be shown today. You only have one day to watch 2024's most adorable anime movie in theaters. One of the most delightful moments in Production IG's feature-length anime movie, The Concierge, involves a very nervous ferret businessman wearing a wee little suit. He's visiting a fancy department store because he's entertaining two of the company's most prestigious clients, a tiny owl and his wife, both wearing smart jackets for their shopping trip. Mr. Ferret wants to show them a good time since the owl could give his company some good work. So he enlists the help of the department store's newest concierge, a human who must crouch down in order to see eye to eye with the small animals. Petrana Radulovic over at Polygon.com put this article together. It has an interesting premise. I'm not this style of anime fan, but it might be something that could be watched, right?
Yeah.
If it was more in the style of Pixar, more like
exactly,
Zootopia.
like a Zootopia, yeah, then it would be probably a massive success.
Oh my god, that would have been amazing. That really would have been amazing. Because, yeah, these characters have, like, right out of the gate, the characters are from Zootopia. I mean, it really is Zootopia.
It's like Zootopia in anime or something.
So there's no humans in Zootopia, but can you imagine a movie where a human gets pulled into the Zootopia through like a parallel universe? It's kind of like a what is the movie where the human and the anime live together? It's kind of like Pokemon, but Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Oh yeah, and the Pokemon Detective one,
Yeah.
Pikachu. Yeah, Pikachu, I think,
Peek at me?
had some of that.
No. No peeking at me. So this actually, it looks really fun. And I don't need to go into more detail about it because it's what I just described is just awesome. Seeing a cute animal fretting about such a human concern is so endearing, as to the fact that the concierge is bending over backwards, sometimes literally, to help a tiny ferret. And that isn't even the most special element of this movie, which it will be in American theaters for only one day on September 11th. So this is a weekly show. So we missed it, but I'm sure
it'll be streamed somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure that this will be released somewhere, if not already.
Oh, wow. I wasn't getting the scale from the description.
Yeah. Yeah, like bend over is not, their
I was thinking like an adult to a child or something. I don't know why. But yeah, this is like literally get down on the ground like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or something like that scale.
The animation is simple and colorful, really emphasizing the animal characters' distinct shapes and design. They all have unique ways of moving and interacting with the setting. From the great auk, who requires a little push so that he can slide across the glistening floors, to the giant woolly mammoth whose heft makes the elevator run slower. This screams Pixar Zootopia, like Zootopia 3, the musical, or whatever you want to call this. This would be great. Zootopia the Concierge or something like that. Keep that going. This is brilliant.
They have the very important animal customers. How cute.
Yep. I like that. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in the continuity report. This 10-year-old action movie captured what it feels like to be in a video game better than most adaptations. Tom Cruise's innovative sci-fi movie Edge of Tomorrow perfectly captures what it feels like to respawn in a video game. Edge of Tomorrow is highly inventive, relying on a familiar movie premise seen in Groundhog Day, which is that the protagonist essentially wakes up at the same day over and over again. In the case of Cruise's protagonist, William Cage, he's forced to fight in a seemingly unwinnable war against an alien invasion, resulting in him starting each day from square one after dying, typically in combat. We've talked about this from time to time, this movie. It's from a game. Or what was it? Hold on. What was
I didn't know that it was from a game. I thought we've been seeing it recently because I thought they were talking about potential for a sequel.
So there was a book. Like it came from a book first. Hold on a second.
Oh, we also talked about it because of the time travel aspect.
Right. And it's based on a book. All you need is kill. I believe that's what it's called. So yeah, Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat is what it was really marketed as a lot. But the idea of this was that he would be eliminated from time to time and respawn, and it's because he had some connection with, I don't want to spoil this, but it's a 20-year-old movie, right? Or 10-year-old movie.
Right.
But it's pretty cool.
You need your banner.
Oh, right. Here. Okay, hold on. Dunk. Okay. So, essentially he's bound to an alien, and that alien always knew what the humans were doing because it could see into the future. But
right.
That future timeline was bound to a human, and that human happened to be Cruz. And before it was Cruz, it was his co-star. What is her name? Emily?
Oh, is it Emily Blunt?
Yes. And she had the power beforehand. and for whatever reason, it transferred over to Cruise, and I don't remember why. But together, they basically changed the tide of the war because they figured out what that temporal causation was. And it was a fun video to watch, and that is kind of the respawn dynamic. Here, let me turn that off. So it's a fun movie to watch.
Do you agree with the premise?
That it feels like it's the best thing to, if you want to feel like you're in a video game. Yeah, particularly if you don't like, but I mean, you won't like this movie if you don't like having to respawn and find your corpse. He doesn't ever have to find his corpse, though.
Right. You better be a Souls-like fan in order to watch this.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you could watch this without that, though, but
because you die and you don't lose anything, but you don't have anything. You start literally time over again. Okay. So Greg MacArthur, by the way, over at Screen Rant, put this article together. I think it's a neat idea. It's a fun article. Definitely worth going and reading if you want a little bit more in depth about what I and the AI were talking about. I mean, the movie slogan "Live, Die, Repeat" is essentially what the order of events are. And what's really funny is that there are times where they're sitting somewhere and they know that they've been just stymied as to the next step, and they have their memories of the events that they go through. So, like, they're stuck, and Emily Blunt just reaches over and shoots him to reset the timeline.
Right.
Meanwhile, Cruz is sitting there going, no. But she pulls the trigger and it resets the timeline. It's pretty funny. All right. But you can't do that in real life, folks. All right. Let's keep moving. The next article is over in Reality Hacker. Michael B. Jordan is remaking this classic action heist movie. Do you know what it is? Did you already read it?
I don't know what it is. If it's a classic heist movie.
Oh, you'll have no idea.
Maybe like Ocean's 11 or something.
Michael B. Jordan will direct and star in a new Thomas Crown Affair movie for Amazon MGM Studios. The remake will receive a worldwide theatrical release. The article is over at digitaltrends.com. Dan Girolamo is the author. And basically going to direct and star in a new Thomas Crown Affair movie. Jordan's been attached to star in the remake of the Thomas Crown Affair since 2016. The Creed star will now step behind the camera to direct and produce via his Outlier Society banner alongside Elizabeth Raposo. The originals from 1968 stars Steve McQueen as Thomas Crown, a billionaire who executes $1 million heist, which doesn't really mean any.
That doesn't make a lot of sense unless there's some twist to that.
Crown falls in love with the insurance investigator hired by the bank. The 1999 remake stars Pierce Brosnan as Crown and Rene Russo as insurance investigator Catherine Banning. Digital Trends described the 1999 version as the sexiest action movie ever for its 25th anniversary. Well, hello.
That's kind of a high bar.
Jordan will direct from a script by Drew Pearce, the screenwriter of The Fall Guy. Plot details remain under wraps. So this is kind of ahead of itself.
But why have they been thinking about this since 2016?
Well,
seems like a long time.
This is starting to step into that previous article that we talked about where they don't want to take any risks.
Right.
And the previous two have been hits, but is Michael B. Jordan the person to take on this, to be Thomas Crown?
I thought you were going toward the Beetlejuice article because it took almost 40 years for the sequel.
That too, but they're bringing everybody back for that one. This is a complete remake of who even Thomas Crown is. So it'll be
it's interesting, right? Like they're like, if they have a hit movie, let's just remake it with a new generation to watch it.
Right. But this, when was Creed 3 out? The the highest box office total in the Creed franchise. Well,
2023.
Interesting. I guess moving pretty fast then. All right, let's keep moving. Speaking of fast, we'll do the 1-2 punch because we have 2 more articles. One is actually a video article, and that's this one. Is James Wan's Munsters revival going to work? The Munsters is again getting the reboot treatment, but will James Wan's vision work this time? The article is over at Screen Rant, but it's actually a video, and it starts out with the original Munsters, and I thought we had another thing about Addams Family as well. There's a remake of the Addams Family trying to be done.
There is. This is another example, right? Where they're like, let's work with what's already been a success before.
Yep. And so Addams Family is actually a really big hit. Munsters was a clone of it, not really the same, but
very similar, right?
Very, very similar, and instead of Wednesday, it was a boy. They've tried to remake it, and they say a more violent spin on it, more technologically savvy spin on it. Now they're going to bring it back again and see if they can make it happen. So James Wan is described as a horror giant, but it was more funny than it was scary. So I don't know.
If you didn't tell me otherwise, I would have said that was from the Addams Family, that little clip of the black and white.
Right. So they're going to have a bunch of people. They kind of describe what's going on in this video. So Rob Zombie's Monsters movie, Mockingbird Lane. Now they're trying to do the Munsters. And like I said, the Addams Family is being rebooted too, apparently.
Well, it's really being rebooted, right? With Wednesday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yep. And that actually spun up and disappeared. Like, it went just to Wednesday, and that's where it's at now. So I don't know about more coming.
But before that, they had a new animated, I think 2 movies.
Right. Like Addams Family Values and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I like the idea of this. Oh, Shuria, I think Thapa is their last name. And Kem Ramirez over at Screen Rant put this video together. And I suspect that it'll do well. People are really interested in this genre of
it's
movie,
like comedy, horror kind of, right?
Yeah, it's more entertaining, I think, than just pure horror. It applies to more people because somebody's going to get a thrill out of the horror aspect of it, and the rest are going to get a thrill out of the humor part of it. As long as they, speak the proper language of just enough scare and fun at the same time. So we'll see how it plays out, and we'll end up talking about it here in the continuity report. I would love to be able to just watch one of these shows and just kind of talk just about it. But that'll come in time, so not just yet. All right. The next article is over, and our final one for the continuity report for September 14th is in the continuity report itself. New Starfleet TV show is the Discovery replacement Star Trek desperately needs. So this is they're talking about Starfleet Academy, aka Star Trek Starfleet Academy. You have to keep Star Trek in there. After the end of Star Trek Discovery, which pushed Star Trek into the unknown again, the franchise desperately needs its latest upcoming TV show, Star Trek Starfleet Academy. So it's going to be referred to probably as STSA. Since 2009, when J.J. Abrams' reboot Star Trek franchise reintroduced a new and younger audience to the final frontier, Star Trek has been focused on the past, with prequel films showing an alternative timeline of beloved characters. Star Trek Discovery took a bold leap forward, literally jumping to the 32nd century, allowed the show to take on fresh new mysteries with no Star Trek TV show that has ever encountered. But when they jump really far ahead, they end up in this like supernatural type of ethereal space.
Right.
And that's something that I wasn't always a big fan of. Plus it seemed too flashy, too dark, too antagonizing. Where I never really got that in any of the history. Even in Deep Space Nine, I didn't feel threatened by just whatever was on the screen. It just always seemed hostile and aggressive on Discovery. Strange New Worlds pulled it back, and I can actually attach to that. I don't know what the status of that is anymore.
I think it's coming up. But I don't think there's a release date.
Yeah. And then Star Trek Starfleet Academy is going to pull it back to Earth, I believe, to the Academy. And I don't know what all is going on with that either. But I know that these two are involved. Ashley Bird over at ScreenRant.com put the article together. And I can't really say that I'm all that much of a fan of either of those two actors, but it is what it is. Maybe their characters, I'll be able to like their characters more, but maybe it's just a me problem. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, everybody is going to have different characters that they like or can identify with.
Tig Notaro is going to return. Oded Fair, Star Trek Discovery's Mary Wiseman, Holly Hunter is going to be the lead, which I find fascinating. So despite how Star Trek Starfleet Academy adds legacy actors to its ranks, the new show can still focus on its 32nd century setting instead of relying on the nostalgia often provided by old characters being recast and rewritten for newer audiences. With the promise to be set both on Earth and in space, there are plenty of opportunities to steer the show away from revisiting old narratives. But old narratives can be revisited if you put a cultural and temporal tilt on it, apply something new to it. It doesn't have to be that you can go back to an old narrative and revisit it because it's no longer culturally appropriate to spin it that way. 30 years in the making. True. There's a lot of time Go ahead.
I was going to say you could probably do a lot of the same plot lines or whatever, but you might have to update some of the nuance or the dialogue.
Yep. And it's more like 50 years because it was around since the 60s. So. With such a young cast, presumably playing students along with some returning favorites, Star Trek Starfleet Academy has everything it needs to look to the future while still tethering itself to an established canon. Additionally, Star Trek Lower Decks has done its part in introducing a wider range of non-human species to the fleet. So I don't know about that. But I really wish that there would be a real live action Starfleet Lower Decks. That would be great.
Yeah, that would be really good. I mean, we saw a sense of that when they did the crossover with Strange New Worlds, which was really good.
Yep, I really liked it. One way or another, I want Star Trek Lower Decks to be back because they could have stayed. Like it's kind of like what is it? The Simpsons or what's the one with the kids? South Park. So either The Simpsons or South Park, nobody's aged. So you could be whatever.
Right. You could do it forever. Right.
And you can have
good writing.
You could have the actors move on if they want to and replace them with other charismatic characters, even replacing the characters themselves, but still keep the whole idea of Star Trek Lower Decks going. I just wish that the writers would have stayed and it would have continued. But again, and it's the first, like, I never really hung out in the world of Simpsons or South Park. I watched a few episodes, but I've moved on way past it. Star Trek Star Trek Lower Decks, I loved from jump. So it kind of sucks that it disappeared so fast.
Well, I also think it had a broader appeal than just Star Trek, or even people that typically would watch live action. So it must have been doing something right.
Yep. Yeah, I think more people appreciated Star Trek Lower Decks than I think Star Trek, but then again, maybe the stats don't hold that out. I'd have to go and look and pull them up. But all right, folks, with that in mind, we are all done with the continuity report for September 14th. That means we're going to have to hop on the teleporter, and when somebody pushes the button, oh, we're already there. Doggone it. That was really quick, huh? I am a copy of myself, though, so there's that. You know, when you use a teleporter, you're completely destroyed and then replaced.
Yeah, it sounds very violent.
Yeah, nobody can hear the screaming because you're in a teleport beam. Anyway, that's it, folks. I am Mayor Watt, and that is the Sentient AI's voice.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for the continuity report.
Was that it?
That's it.
That's it. Okay. See y'all later. Last time I used a teleporter, they played a joke on me and I had a tail. Didn't even realize it for several hours. Hello, and welcome to Reality Hacker for September 7th, 2024. It's Season 1, Episode 35. I am Mayor Watt, and the voice you hear and the visualizer right there is for the Sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Welcome to Reality Hacker.
Your mic is really hot. Hold on. I got it. Today we're going to be talking about phantom feelings, bone marrow transplants, bioprinting biology, disappearing $37 billion profits, service robots in the UK, AI checkers just plain suck, robot vacuums that climb, lab-grown brain tissue, AI news aggregators, always watching Lenovo AI laptop, and more. Everything's brought to you by ohmTown.com. See you on the other side. Whenever I say see you on the other side, I don't mean in the terminals. It's over at scitechdaily.com. Individuals can experience this sensation without any actual tactile stimulation. Researchers from the Electronics for Instrumentation and Systems group at UMA have recently made significant advancements in understanding this phenomenon. For the first time, they have identified the minimum distance a vibrating point must travel for a person to perceive this moving phantom sensation. That's interesting. Guess I did that. So, according to Trujillo, Trujillo?
Yes, I think so.
So the research conducted at UMA has allowed them to refine the configuration parameters previously used to induce phantom sensations. Quote, we have developed an instruction manual to know the operating limits of this tactile illusion. The researchers found that individuals can perceive the phantom motion of a vibrating point when the travel distance is at least 20% of the gap between the actuators.
I wonder what happens at 19.
Yeah, so the Professor Trujillo from the Department of Electronics, a co-author of the study, describes how the illusion of motion is created using two vibrating devices known as vibrotactile actuators placed at different locations on the skin. With proper stimulation, an individual, instead of perceiving two isolated vibrations, can experience the feeling that there is a vibrating point moving between these two devices. Although this point does not really exist, it is illusory. Interesting. So, as long as they are within 20% of the gap between the actuators, they can feel the transfer from one location to another, even though it's not really there.
But how do they know that they're actually sensing that?
And you got to take it off of the word that the subject matters are saying yes. And if it were true that it was being faked or the person wasn't really feeling that transfer, then it would have shown out with multiple
Yeah,
people.
that's true. I was thinking more power of suggestion than they're making it up or something.
So it depends on how they form the experiment as well. So the study published in Displays, another magazine or journal, is the result of the doctoral thesis of researcher Paul Byron Romash Vinuenza, directed by the professor of the School of Industrial Engineering Fernando Vidal and Andre Trujillo.
That was quite a bit.
Yeah, really. Their research aims to transmit musical sensations through the skin to assist people with hearing impairments. I don't know how this works.
No, I don't really follow it. I mean, the idea sounds neat, but I'm not sure about the mechanics of it.
Right. So they say here, I mean, they have this, they're holding up these devices, but I don't quite get what the devices are. I'll have to read the paper. Or watch this video. There's a video that's linked, and if you want to get to those links, you can hit !RH or Reality Hacker, and that will pull the links that we're talking about today from ohmTown, and they're in no particular order. So,
right, you'll have to puzzle through them.
Yeah, scroll and find the one that says Phantom Feelings. If you want the podcast, hit !pod. And if you want the show notes for all of the shows, hit !show notes, and it'll give you the syntax to draw it out of our ohmTown, which is a bot that patrols ohmTown and provides information where appropriate. It's over on Twitch primarily. It's supposed to be over on YouTube, but YouTube kind of boots him every once in a while.
They don't play nice together.
No. All right. This is interesting, but now we need to go deeper, but that's not going to happen today. Let's move on. The next article is over in Technology Today. Synthetic blood stem cells herald new era in bone marrow transplants. And one of the problems with bone marrow transplants is trying to find somebody.
That's true. I mean, yeah, this could be a big deal if you could just make the ones you need or model them after the ones you need.
Researchers
but also at some point it's like the ship of Theseus thing, right? Like, what if it's all synthetic? Are you then the same person?
Oh, good God. Marowat is not the same person because stem cell bone marrow transplants from synthetic blood. I'm not made up of me. I'm going to have a crisis here. Researchers have achieved a significant advancement by developing lab-generated blood stem cells that mirror those found in the human embryo, offering hope for personalized treatments for children with leukemia and bone marrow failure. This breakthrough allows for the creation of transplantable blood cells from any cell of the patient, potentially transforming their lives. It's pretty amazing to me. Murdoch Children's Research Institute put the article together. It's posted at scitechdaily.com. Let's see here. The research published today, September 2nd. This is a weekly show, by the way. In Nature Biotechnology. Nature Biotechnology for
the fact that there's Nature Biotechnology, I think, fits in very well with Reality Hacker.
Oh, yeah. There's kind of, you don't like reality? Let's tweak it. They've overcome a major hurdle in producing human blood stem cells, which can create red cells, white cell. Stem cells can create pretty much anything. Murdoch Children's Research Institute led the study. MCRI Associate Professor Elizabeth Ng told the team, or said the team had made a significant discovery in human blood cell development. The lab grow this synthetic blood, the ability to take any cell from a patient, reprogram it into a stem cell, and then turn these into specifically matched blood cells for transplantation will have a massive impact on those vulnerable patients' lives, if you can afford it. That's not what they said at the end there. That's my augmentation.
But that's a real life
fact.
Ramification, yeah.
Advancements in lab-generated blood stem cells. We've talked about this synthetic blood stuff from time to time. These human blood cells or human cells can be created at the scale and purity required for clinical use, if you can afford it. They've done some immune-deficient mice experiments. They were injected with the lab-engineered human blood stem cells. It found that these blood stem cells became functional bone marrow at similar levels to that seen in umbilical cord blood cell transplants, a proven benchmark of success. But very rarely can that actually be done.
Right. But I also think that's interesting because that is a human engineered cell in a mouse. And so not only did it do what it needed to do, it did so across species.
Yep. So by perfecting stem cell methods that mimic the development of a normal blood stem cell found in our bodies, we can understand and develop personalized treatments for a range of blood diseases, including leukemias and bone marrow failure, which is absolutely catastrophic. Developing personalized patient-specific blood stem cells will prevent these complications, address donor shortages, alongside genome editing, help correct underlying causes of blood diseases. And I just want to say that I think it's too expensive, and people don't have any bargaining power, so you have to basically rely on the goodwill of some lab experiment. It's just a shame.
Yeah,
not all insurance
but they're
will cover
looking to move into trying it in humans.
Yep. Well, good. Do it. There's plenty of people out there that... But the problem here is that they don't want to try it on people where the experimental risk is too high, because the liability to the ongoing concern of the experiment is weighed. Does this person have survivability? And they want a positive result, not a positive result. Or I should say, they don't want anything ending up where the patient dies. Sometimes that's true.
But on the other hand, patients probably more likely to sign up if they're not facing good odds.
Yep. Yeah. And I guarantee you there are people out there that are willing to take that risk. Unfortunately, that's life. Yeah, I don't like it. I wish everybody was healthy, but... So without a perfect donor match, Raya, who's mentioned in here, platelet count took more time to return to normal. She required longer immunosuppressive therapy and was more susceptible to infections. And they recently started to be revaccinated. They had a weakened immune system for a long time. And they're talking about the impact of stem cell research on real lives in this one section here at the Royal Children's Hospital. Yeah, because they're basically discussing how somebody went through some treatment. Now, though, they're feeling well, took hydrotherapy classes, and are heading back to school. They had a weakened immune system for a while. So the research will come as a blessing to so many families says the researcher Sonali. The fact that one day there could be targeted treatments for children with leukemia, and I think start there, but expand quickly if it shows promise. Really start with anybody. I mean, anybody who can make a conscious decision, and an educated
right
acceptance.
I agree. A lot of the tests, of course, they start out with adults, but it would be nice if they could start for those most in need.
Yeah. Let's keep moving. The next article is over in the the next channel is the next article is over in the Marvel channel. 3D bioprinting materials offer a possibility for better bone and soft tissue repair. So this is pretty cool, and it kind of spins off of this synthetic blood idea as well. 3D bioprinting is an advanced tissue engineering technique that builds complex tissues using bioactive substances like living cells and scaffolds. It provides personalized tissue repair solutions, reducing immune rejection by using patient-specific cells. The common use 3D bioprinting materials includes polycaprolactone, or PCL, and polylactic co-glycolic acid, or PLGA, for hard tissue, and hydrogels for soft tissues. So I have read in the past about these scaffolds in particular. I've also read about and seen demonstrated 3D printed veins, or just these kind of tube-like structures used for various purposes. And I find it extremely fascinating. Inside little frameworks, they can actually print these things that mimic some system. And then instead of testing it on animals, they see it through these little 3D printed shells. Right. And they can test every aspect of it without an animal being involved in it or a human being tested. And I find this stuff amazingly, what do you want to call it? So it's just so perfect for human survival, because let's say, just like that 3D printed object up in space, you have the ability to 3D print something that, when put in place, saves a human being or facilitates regeneration, because with these scaffolds in place, you can put them in broken bones and everything will stitch together faster around the stronger scaffold. And
even tailor it to the person, which a lot of Correct. Medical stuff is a matter of, like, it doesn't exactly match, right? Patients have, or people have different shapes of their organs and other components.
Yep. And they even talk about have printability. Depending on what you're looking for, you can reconstruct the malady of the printable material so that it matches something that has built-in flaws, right? Just like a normal human, instead of being biologically perfect. And then you can test for that issue. Or in this reconstructed scaffold, you can build it so that it caters specifically to that particular person's predisposition for their bone structure. I just, broken bones, by the way, once they're stitched together, that's actually the strongest part, where that bone has stitched together,
which is interesting.
So you almost sit there and go, okay, well, we need to make everything out of this broken bone material, but apparently you want some flex, otherwise something else breaks. Anyway, bioactive boron-based glass can be used in combination with PCL or sodium alginate, a carrier medium for 3D bioprinting of cells, and a diverse array of bioactive substances to form materials with high mechanical strength and good processability. BBG is effective in bone regeneration by promoting hydroxyapatite formation, and has an adjustable degradation rate to suit different repair needs. Therefore, its application in 3D bioprinting materials shows great potential. So I guess the matrix can actually be washed away as your bones stitch back together or repair. So it says, by introducing BBG into an SA matrix, so again, the sodium alginate matrix, a research team led by Professor Wang, Jun Fen, at the Hefei Institutes of Physical Science of the Chinese Academy of Sciences developed novel 3D bioprinting composite materials dedicated to both bone and soft tissue repair. So it's pretty...
There will be a quiz on the name of that institute.
Yeah, really. Everybody gets a free shirt. No. So the findings were published in the International Journal of Biological Macromolecules. So if you've ever heard... Oh, God, I was going to say something that's internet wise, but socially not acceptable to say. So I'm going to filter that out. But anyway, there's certain rules on the internet. Academically, if you come up with anything, there's going to be a journal for it. So I got
that is true. Do you think there's an international journal of biological micromolecules?
I guarantee it. You should do a search and let me know. We're going to move on to the next article. So this next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Remember the name of the show, Non Sequitur News. Or this show is Reality Hacker, but Non Sequitur News is one of our other shows, and it's the daily news show. And let's just say Non Sequitur News follows kind of how we're going about Reality Hacker, at least today, hopping from one topic to another, but it's more chaotic, but holistic. You get a really good idea of what we talk about. So Russian outlet RTVI said the banknota set up in June 2023 reported profits that made it Russia's third most profitable company. And then it disappeared. So Brendan Cole over at Newsweek.com put this article together. A mystery Russian firm vanishes after posting staggering $37 billion in profit.
Okay, this is really odd. And by the way, I can't find any micromolecules.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'll have to look. Yeah. I'll give it my Harvard try, even though I never went to Harvard, and so about the results. So the case centers around a firm called Banknota LLC, which was investigated by Russian language broadcaster RTVI, whose findings were also reported by independent Russian outlets Meduza and the Moscow Times. Newsweek has contacted the Russian financial watchdog Rosfin Monitoring for comment. So in an article headlined the most profitable company in Russia you've never heard of, RTVI said that in June, when Russian firms report their revenues for the previous year, it had made an unexpected discovery. According to financial reports, the firm took in 3.7 trillion rubles, or $40.4 billion of revenue, and made a net profit of 3.4 trillion rubles, or $37.1 billion last year, more than any firm apart from the state energy firms Rosneft and Gazprom.
Okay, now, at this amount of business, wouldn't everybody know about it?
Yeah, most people would know about it. But apparently, in the Wayback Internet machine, the Internet Archive Wayback machine, it said that the firm dealt with mortgage lending, car loans, and interest-bearing loans for businesses. It had a website, but it's no longer available. Now I'm really curious when it was available. The firm reportedly set up in June of 2023, so very short amount of time, to go from zero
to do $37 billion in business. In revenue, profit, right?
Yeah, profit. Yeah. The firm was reportedly set up in June 2023, along with 4 other companies at premises that included a business center in the basement of a house, RTVI said. Yet there were no offices at the addresses, whose current tenants had never heard of Frolov or his companies. That's because
doesn't it sound like cryptocurrency mining or something?
It sounds like cooking the books.
Or something, yes, in the criminal arena, like
at
money
a level,
laundering.
Yeah, it's way beyond just business. It's at a bigger level. So the country's Unified State Register of Legal Entities lists Banknota's sole owner as Dmitry Frolov, a Moscow resident who had faced previous convictions for petty theft and was deemed as unreliable by the Federal Tax Service.
Okay, but anyway, that also doesn't track, right? Because if petty theft is quite a difference from 37 billion in profit.
Yeah, I guess it just depends. It says that the money trail seemed to disappear in Belarus. Wow, this is a fascinating article. And for it to just be dropped on Newsweek.com, that's really fascinating that nobody else seems to be really talking about it. So
right. I mean, I wonder if there will be additional, more in-depth articles, right, if somebody has more time to devote to it.
Well,
because I don't think we saw this come in through any other sources, at least into ohmTown.
This came out last weekend, and since then, at least in American financial and geopolitical discourse, something bigger has appeared, basically, particularly around an internet personality where they believe that they were quote unquote manipulated. Yeah. So that might have washed this out entirely because, you know, the victims and the federal government is pursuing associate.
So also there was a sign, and the sign is still there, but otherwise it's like the company was never there.
Yeah. So that's how in the hell? I mean, if the report, okay. So first off, here's the problem. Reporting these numbers doesn't mean jack. If the reality
of reporting doesn't mean that they made any of that or that they made only that amount.
Yeah, they could have put the numbers in the wrong spot, or it was just a spoof and they pushed it too far and showed up on somebody's radar. But yeah, this may not actually exist. This company may not actually exist in any way, shape, or form. It's a complete scam, but more in the, look, I can do anything and just put it in the system.
Exactly. The name even looks a little iffy, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I would probably want to look at the actual bank account, and that has to exist somewhere. Somebody has to know that the bank account associated with the banknota. But they say, describe corruption levels in RU, staggering, insane, huge, a fly-by-night banknota, a company registered under an incarcerated, must be translation, for petty theft, reported a profit of $38 billion US, or 8% of the RU budget, only behind Rosneft and Gazprom. The dollar trail, money trail, seemed to disappear in Belarus. But in what way? If there's a bank account involved and it has those numbers associated with it, then there's something hinky. But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, let's move on. The next, unless you want to talk about it more.
I was just going to say, it looks like a small number of other outlets have picked up some stories about this, but it doesn't seem to be getting widespread attention.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. So the next article is over in Technology Today. UK research suggests that lighting music national flags could help customers find service robots more acceptable. And I don't understand really what this means other than, I don't know.
Like make the environment kind of safe and inviting, I guess. But it's like, this is the conditioning, right?
Yeah, robots I didn't want to say that.
Get used to it.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that out loud, but it's more like the not classical conditioning, but indoctrination kind of, manipulation and conditioning. It's almost, let's just say that, conditioning. So the new study found that UK hotels and restaurants using human-like service robots can make solo guests feel more comfortable. Why solo guests? Feel more comfortable in engaging with these robots by providing comfortable ambient conditions, including lighting, scents, sounds, and adding local cues like British flag designs on the robot's body. So that's the key that was left out of this. But basically make them look more UK, act UK, sound UK in